rarely does a band that you would classify as a cult band ever hang on for more than a couple years. But there are exceptions to that rule, and the British group the Stranglers are certainly one at the top of the list. They've been around for more than 12 years. Now, the problem with people in my position and in my job is that you tend to want to classify music. You tend to want to say, well, this group does this kind of music, this group does this kind of music. Well, you don't want to try and do that with the Stranglers. One, they hate journalists who do it, and they make it really tough for you. At one point, someone tried to define them as punk, and they were definitely against that. In fact, they themselves get too uncomfortable if they stay on one plane musically for too long. So they've been working really well at changing their sound again and again and again. The one thing you can always notice, though, about Stranglers music is that they tend to have a pretty raw edge and a dark sense of humor that has followed their career throughout. So we've got some of the best coming up for them on the Stranglers on the Blue Spotlight today. Their biggest hit, even though they were a cult band and they have had a few songs in the top 10, their biggest hit came off their album Dreamtime in 1986, which was called Always the Sun. But we've got all kinds of stuff in the Blue Spotlight. You try to figure out what the music is. Here's the Stranglers on the Blue Spotlight.
12 years is an awfully long time to still gain ideas. What is it that keeps the four of you together and exciting?
I guess it's a combination of things. I mean, we have absolutely nothing in common with each other. So in that way, in that respect, we don't compete or don't with each other. We don't step on each other's toes. So if you don't compete, you might as well collaborate. That's one thing, and also I suppose we don't live in a music business vacuum. We don't, or rock and roll vacuum or anything. There is life outside of the Stranglers. I mean, we do a lot of things outside, which I guess renews. We get fresh, fresh inputs each time, with the result that most LPs are vastly different one from the other.
Next on the Blue Spotlight, Rock to the Moon and European Female.
The Blue Zone from Labatt's. It's out there. The Blue Zone from Labatt's. It's out there, and it's in here.
Pressurized compartment with 6-inch cross. Telescopic side to watch the cars. You'll all be famous acting out your parts. I want to rock it to the moon. 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 You might find that it cures your aggravation. Like creator, face new situations. Watch the humans create new frustrations. I want to rock it to the moon. I want to rock it to the moon. I want to rock it to the moon. I want to rock it to the moon.
What I think is sort of weird is that because it's so beautiful and melodic, the name The Stranglers is so incongruous with Dreamtime. Do you ever think of changing the band's name or what it means?
No, not at all. We thought maybe just for Christmas, for Noel, just calling ourselves the Strangers, so because Noel, but that's the only time. No, I mean, it's more of a it has made it more difficult for people to program us and all that, but I think that's only better. I mean, it makes us more like an oak.
Like an oak?
Well, you know, it was
Solid.
Yeah, solid.
Okay.
So people who actually bother to hear us and possibly appreciate us, you know, they have to go through that barrier first.
Coming up, more Stranglers with Skin Deep and Always the Sun.
What can make a great time truly great? Take a splash of what's hot, a pinch of something wild, and a dash of the unexpected. Then you shake it up. Some people call it the Blue Zone. The Blue Zone from Labatt. It's out there.
When the punk thing broke, the Pistols, the Damned, the Clash, how were the Stranglers taken?
Most papers would have just put us as new wave, but gradually they pushed us into the punk thing, even though, you know, we never wore safety pins or anything like that. We're definitely new wave because it's high energy music emerging at that time, even though we were around before it. But, you know, people always classify you in some way when you're unknown.
That's the press. How about the audiences and the rest of the bands?
To a degree, there was a high percentage of punk people in the audience in those days. Now it's virtually a complete cross-selection of audience. But what do you expect? I mean, the only information they get from papers or record, and they go by that.
Yeah.
you enjoyed today's Spotlight on the Stranglers. Stay tuned tomorrow, same time, same
Hi there, guys, and welcome to the Spotlight. This time around, a band that's been around since 1973, and if there's any band that would continue, regardless of what the commercial marketplace might dictate, it appears to be this band. And the band is the Stranglers. From their early material like Grip or Straighten Out, in which they gave themselves at least a beginning of a fan base, through to Thrown Away in Golden Brown, where they reached a fairly lofty level of success here in Canada. Stranglers have always had a loyal fan base, mostly because I think the Canadians feel that they're the best live act of that genre. Back in 1990, founding member Hugh Cornwell decided to split the band, replaced by not one, but two other members, John Ellis and Paul Roberts. And most recently, the band decided to do something very special for Canada because they've always had such a loyal fan base here. They decided to do a Canadian tour of the smaller clubs. All the loyal fans were there and said it was absolutely remarkable, considering the fact that this is 20 years the Stranglers are going to be celebrating. At long last, for you Stranglers fan, here you go. There is a Canadian branch of the Stranglers Information Service. There's an address for you, and even if you investigate, probably through that number, you can find out a computer email address. It's the Stranglers in the Spotlight next.
Tell me about European Female.
European Female, it was about at a time when we were still very excited about the idea of a United States of Europe. I don't know, something's gone awry since then. It's gone haywire. You know, unfortunately, we still look towards North America for sort of world leadership, and we were trying to look after our own affairs, you know, defences and everything. And it was so the European Female itself was just an amalgam of some of the better qualities of, you know, North and South in Europe, you know, Mediterranean and
the feel is just, the feel is great, very Mediterranean.
Well, yeah, I mean, we were trying to marry Northern European technological stuff with Southern Catholic Mediterranean type, with the acoustic guitars, you know, synthesizers with acoustic guitars.
Briefly tries to explain what Dreamtime is, the dreaming, if you want, is. A few people have covered the subject already. I mean, it's a subject which should never be forgotten. I think Kate Bush used the same sort of idea a few years ago. The Dreamtime is the time long ago. The Aboriginals believe that the time long ago when the world was given its shape, all the permanent features, the rivers and the mountains and the trees and everything were given their shape, and that these shapes were inhabited by spirits. I mean, it's very much like North American Indians, a sort of very naturalist, naturalist religion, a totemic religion.
The Stranglers being together band, yes, the Men in Black, Margaret English, and an outfit called the Stranglers Information Centre are putting together, I guess, like a little convention. It's a little party. As I said, if you live in the southern Ontario area, you would like a really long drive. The Spadina Hotel, the subway room. In fact, we could just put that up right now. There we go. At 10 o'clock, October 22nd, they would like you to come down and celebrate the Stranglers with them. Yes, all people are encouraged to wear black, just like the band that we're here to celebrate. So anyway, that's happening October 22nd. Spadina Hotel, down here in Toronto, the Spadina room. I guess we should have put Toronto down there, shouldn't we? But never mind. 10 p.m. And everyone's encouraged to wear black. Comes from Margaret English, who runs the Stranglers Information Service. So we're going to play some Stranglers for you. Going to throw in some European Female. I'm going to start things off with Fret Blanket.
Almost, well, it's as if it was overnight. Suddenly, these same people, you know, instead of saying rubbish and walking out, we've emptied halls before in those days, you know. We're really getting into it, and we were playing the same material, the same style. It's just, I suppose they heard it was the thing that was coming, you know.
What was it that changed that whole thing?
I really don't know. It just suddenly emerged. I mean, the Pistols did a lot to break through, you know, the scandal side of it.